It's Thursday, September the 13th. In between trips right now. Crappie fishing was phenomenal last night and this morning. We got our 3 limits last night and a little under 4 hours. Got 2 limits and right about 3 hours this morning. Current lake level is 864, so we're still stable, down about 3 feet from 867. Water temperatures are a little bit cooler to start off with in the morning and not getting near as warm in the afternoon. We're starting out about 74 degrees and then in the day around 80 or 78 to 79 degrees. Water clarity's still good. It's got a little bit more color to it. Wouldn't call it stained, just a little bit more color to it, but would still consider the water to be clear. Right now the largemouth are really starting to scatter with these cooler waters, and I know I've been saying this for the past 3 weeks, but the cooler water temperature has really got these fish in transition. They're still holding on brush piles, but there's some fish that are in between going to the creek that you're seeing blow up on bait. There's just a ton of bait right now, and they're heading to the creek arms as well. You can catch those transition fish on a Whopper Plopper 75 has probably been the best top water for largemouth. A Vixen has been good. I don't have time to get the baits out and show you guys. I like to do that, but I've got another trip going out here pretty quick. The fish that I'm finding further back in the creek, seems like the 2.5 has probably been the go-to bait. They're not fully committing to coming up on a buzz bait yet and fully committing to being that shallow. They're still moving, still following the bait around. So a sexy shad color 2.5 has been my go-to. Crappie are on 15 and 25 foot brush piles still. Still finding them on the main lake like last week, but some of the main lake piles, it seems like there's some of the deeper suspended fish that are moving up on it. Some of the fish that have been out related more to the channel and not necessarily on the pile are starting to show up on those main lake brush piles on their way to the backs of the creeks or to the mouths of the creeks. The piles that have been producing consistently are the ones that are in 25 foot of water that are kind of in the gut of the mouth of the creek. If you can have those two things line up where your brush pile is in 25 foot of water and it's close to the mouth of the creek, and it's in the gut of the creek where the ditch got, where it all comes together, those are the piles that are really starting to load up. That's their stopping point before they go back in and feed on shad. They'll break up and get on smaller piles throughout the creek as it progresses when there's more bait shows up back there. This morning there was a lot of bait in the back of several creeks, not the bigger creek arms, but some of the smaller feeder creeks had a whole lot of bait in them. The crappie bite's been a little bit different. We've been staying back off the brush piles and we've been pitching our jigs to the brush piles, and what I try to do is gauge by how far I pitch out, getting that bait to pendulum across the top of the brush pile without falling into it. And they've been wanting to hit that bait as it's swinging by or moving. Haven't had much success with casting and slow rolling it across it. It's almost like it's got to be pendulum over the top of that brush pile. and that's primarily how we've been catching our fish. We've been using a smoked swimming minnow, Bobby Garland smoked swimming minnow, still using a 16th ounce just lead head, no particular color. If you like chartreuse, you can use chartreuse, pink, orange, whatever you like, but just a lead head's all I use. On the windier days, you're gonna have to go to an 8th, but be careful to not let it fall into the brush, because coming across, you're gonna get hung up every time. When the bite's a little bit tougher, we're using shiners and doing the same thing. The pitch and fall technique has definitely been the most productive way to catch the crappie. The walleye, they've started to break up off the flats, and I've said that again every week. They're really moving off the flats, and you can pretty much run main lake points right now in anywhere from 12 to 20, 22 foot of water, depending on how clear and how calm it is. The clearer and the calmer it is, the deeper you want to be. You want to be setting in like 25 to 35 foot of water and bringing your bait through 18 to 25 foot of water, because they're a lot deeper when it's clear and calm. But on the overcast days with wind chop, those walleye are pulling up on the points as shallow as 12 to 15 feet, and even I've had reports of even people catching them out of 4 to 6 foot of water. But we're catching most of those fish on an 1/8 ounce jig head, just with a half of a night crawler off the back of it, and most of the time just bouncing it slow off the bottom. And it's a really light bite. It's just almost like you ticked a rock, but it doesn't feel quite. It feels just a little bit different than if you hit a rock. It's a real subtle bite right now. They're not just ripping the rod out of your hand. Still finding a few on bottom bouncers in that 18 to 22 foot range. 2 ounce bottom bouncers still with a whole night crawler. White bass. The white bass have the blowing up fish that we've had throughout the whole lake almost all summer have crumbled to next to nothing. They're real small schools. The pods will come up for 30 to 45 seconds and they'll be back down. And I've spent a lot of time chasing those pods around, and by the time you get there, you might get 1 or 2 fish. So we've backed off on chasing the visual schooling fish, and we've went to just running the flats, and wherever the wind's blowing into the flats, and the real shallow flats where you can cast up there and you're casting in 1 to 3 foot of water, and your boat's only setting in 10 or 12 foot of water, and you're able to make it all the way to the bank. Those flats and points are the ones that got white bass on them. You're not seeing them blow up, but you can cast up there with a 1/2 ounce spoon and tell real quick if they're there. Just go around the point or go down that bank, let the wind blow you down, and control your boat with your trolling motor. And if they're there, they're gonna eat that silver spoon. But I'm hoping to see some more schooling whites. It's a lot of fun, and everybody enjoys that on trips, but that bite's really crumbled for us. Hey, thank you all for tuning in this week. Hope we covered everything that you guys want to hear. If there's anything we left out, feel free to leave a comment. I wish I would have got to have some of the baits out on the counter and showed them to you. Don't have the time to do that this week, but if there's anything I left out and I've got time to do it next week, feel free to leave a comment. We'll make adjustments. We'll make this report for you guys and tailor it to you guys. So thanks for tuning in again. Can't wait to see you next week.